50 mil lens, now I'm about to bag 50 mil yen. I can shoot all day, I got stamina. Turtleneck on with my camera, yeah. Stay creamy, man, that's what they say. Shoes laced up and I came to play. Yeah, I'm first team, I'm a superstar. They call me cream, like Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah, you had to face it, let's get back to basics. I'ma take the shot like it's a vaccination. I don't have the patience, I'ma shoot right now. Yeah, we undefeated and you gon' lose right now. Like click, 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 swish. I can switch it up anytime like this. I'm a videographer and I'm on the verse. So when I shoot my shot, I don't miss. I'm gonna take the shot, take the shot. Take the shot. You know I'm gonna take the shot. Take the shot. Take the shot. Pull up and take the shot. Take the shot. Take the shot. You know I'm gonna take the shot. Take the shot. Take the shot. Yeah, kid noon, I've been shooting my shot, ooh. The into it, I've been moving the rock, yeah. My shit's wet like I've been using a mop, ooh. You get there, yeah, I've been proving I'm wrong. I've been taking shots and now I'm starting to stutter. Vision getting blurry, I should check my shutter. I'm the cameraman, I need my camera madam. Shoot my shot like a Mansaletta. I develop film, not feelings, ooh. I develop film, not feelings, ooh. I develop film, not feelings, ooh. Develop film, not feelings. You know I'm gonna take the shot, take the shot, take the shot. You know I'm gonna take the shot.
There you go. That's better if you guys can hear me. Welcome back to the bar where the takes are hot and the drinks are cold. There's no dress code and you can take us wherever you go. So pull up a stool, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe. This is Basketball at the Bar. Grab your drinks and let's go, Calvin. I don't know what you're drinking tonight, but I'm drinking the Lagunitas Island Beats. It's a tropical IPA and it is absolutely delicious. Calvin, we got a full schedule of things to talk about. The Sacramento Kings win tonight, 105-104. We're going to talk about Zion Williamson, Ben Simmons returning to the Brooklyn Nets, Rudy Gobert, and Karl Anthony Towns. We're going to give our drunk take of the week, and we're going to talk about our plans for next week as well. So welcome in, everybody. Calvin, I feel like we're doing this again, but happy Wednesday, happy hump day.
Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. I unfortunately do not have a beer near me, but I'm still having a good time. It's still a party.
Yeah, it's Wednesday night parties. You don't have to drink to always have fun, but I'm having a lot of fun over here, Calvin. So first off, let's just talk a little bit about the Kings. I know we were talking about it on Royal Rebounds. To everyone that's joining in just now from Royal Rebounds, thank you guys so much. We appreciate all your support. This is our Hawaii Tiki Bar theme channel where we talk about the entire NBA and a lot of basketball, and it is a lot of fun as well. So Kings win tonight. No Holmes, no Murray, no problem for Sacramento. They fall down early. They turn the ball over a bunch in the first quarter of this game. They bounce back late in the second. They take over in the third, and they almost lose it in the fourth quarter. They squeak out with a 1-point victory. De'Aaron Fox, 15 points for him, was looking pretty good. We got to see Kevin Huerter out there again. He is officially the starting two guard for the Kings this season. And just ultimately, Kings win, Calvin. Kings win. I want to ask you about Trey Lyles because we saw him start tonight. 20 minutes for him, 6 points, 2 rebounds. Why do you think Trey Lyles ended up starting tonight? Do you have an opinion on why he started over KZ? Was this just rest? Was Mike Brown trying something different? What are your overall thoughts?
I think Mike Brown is playing with house money at this point. I believe that KZ is going to be the starting power forward once the season begins. If it isn't going to be KZ, to me, it's got to be Keegan Murray. I think that Trey Lyles got an opportunity here. And again, Mike Brown having won both of the previous games by 30 points, being able to play everyone, having gotten a better understanding, more comfortability with who his players are in game situations, more comfortability with this team. To me, it speaks volumes about KZ's impact on the team defensively, and more importantly, his impact on Coach Mike Brown. I truly believe that that's at this point his position to lose, really. So I definitely don't expect Trey Lyles to be the starting power forward of this team. Again, I think that we've moved on now to the final couple games of the preseason. This is when you give the rest of your team a chance to show you who they are, a chance to battle for those final roster spots and those second string spots, behind the starters. So this is more about who didn't play to me than who did play.
Yeah, good point. I love Matthew's take here. Trade Wembayama, get Zelensky. Zelensky the comedian or Zelensky the politician would be my question there. But welcome in, everybody. This is Basketball at the Bar. My name is Barry. That is Calvin. Welcome in. Please don't forget to smash up that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. We are talking about the game recap right now for the Sacramento Kings. Calvin, we've been talking about the Kings mostly. Can we shift over a little bit to the Phoenix Suns? Because I want to hear your thoughts on this team. Obviously, they've been dealing with a ton of drama this offseason surrounding their center, DeAndre Ayton, their owner. Can you give me your thoughts on Phoenix this year, what you expect from them, and, what is a successful season for them? Because I know they're aiming for a championship, but they might not be as close as they want to be.
Well, they're definitely not as close as they want to be. I mean, they were just a couple of games away from winning 2 years ago, winning the championship, right? So look, I'm worried about this team overall. I think that everything that's happened, since Game 7 against the Mavericks last year has set this team up for potential failure, being a team that's been at the top of the list in the Western Conference for the past couple of seasons, a major contender. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, that is a trio along with all of their role players that's really had people thinking they were set up to be good and competing for championships for a very, very long time. But I think that obviously the owner thing is behind them now, even though they'll still probably have to answer questions about that in bits and pieces as the season goes on. But this whole rift between the team and the coach thing is a major, major deal, I think. And DeAndre Ayton being, as well as Monty Williams, being as open as they were about their issues on media day pretty much set this team up before they even played a game, before they even played a preseason game, for scrutiny. Now the pressure is on more and more and more. And if they fail, then it's going to be people are going to blame nobody from outside. It's all blame on them that they didn't get the job done. I think a lot of fans were probably thrilled that they signed DeAndre Ayton when all you heard was he was going to be gone, but it may end up being a worse move for the team this season.
Yeah, I've heard some talk about, a backup plan for them, right? Like maybe he'll end up getting traded to a team like the Chicago Bulls or somebody if it doesn't work out with them. It seemed kind of like a low risk, kind of high reward deal for them, right? The Phoenix Suns could give him the most money. They obviously are paying Chris Paul a bunch, Devin Booker. They can't really afford to lose this guy and replace him, right? So re-signing him, in my opinion, was a win-win for both sides. And then if they can't work it out, maybe he gets traded before the deadline or at the end of the season. As far as Phoenix is concerned this year, do you think they're a championship quality caliber team?
On paper, yes, they are, obviously. I mean, they won 61 games last year. The roster is very similar to what it was. They're not going to have Jay Crowder, it looks like. And, I think he was a pretty important player for them. But at the same time, they've got guys who are in similar builds and molds who I think are ready to take over that spot. I'm talking specifically about Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, who I love as young players. But, look, this team has now built themselves to the expectation is to win and win the title, right? So the fact that all the other teams in the Western Conference have gotten better, the competition is going to be more stiff for them, even within their own division. We're talking about the Kings now potentially being a team that could give a lot of other Western Conference teams trouble. I wouldn't be surprised to see this team fall all the way from number 1 down to the middle of the pack, something like 5, 6, maybe even 7. I mean, there are a lot of really, really good teams in the Western Conference. They still have a chance to win, but it's going to be difficult, I think. And the extra stuff, the extra pressure, the extra questions, about non-basketball related stuff, relationships on the team, that can wear on you over the course of a season. Just ask Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. They're in for a long ride this season too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a second, but I did want to make an announcement. It's official. Marvin Bagley is injured again. He goes down today for the Detroit Pistons. Quite an unfortunate situation. I know many Kings fans, we're probably thinking, I told you so, right? I told you so. Marvin Bagley, is basically a walking injury. It's unfortunate at this point. I know a lot of us really rooted for Marvin, but he is down and out with another injury here, which is quite unfortunate. Let's talk a little bit about Zion because he got injured today as well. They said it's not a major injury. It's kind of some stiffening up, tightening of the ankle. What are your thoughts on Zion and his injury?
Well, of course, given the fact that Zion hasn't played a ton of games in his first few seasons, everybody is going to be, alarmed at this. I think that it's definitely not time to panic yet. The season hasn't even started yet. If it's something that lingers, obviously you get more and more worried about it. But as of right now, I'm going to give Zion the benefit of the doubt. He'll be back healthy, ready to go, within the first week or two of the season. And they'll just continue to move on from there. I expect big things out of Zion and the Pelicans this season. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was kind of out of precaution, right? His ankle started to tighten up. They're like, okay, we'll pull you out now. We do not want you missing another season. And yeah, I'm sure you have big hopes. I have big hopes, but I think the Pelicans have even bigger hopes for themselves, right? That they're going to make a good run this year. So that's for sure. Why is everyone talking about pizza here in the chat? You guys are making me really, really hungry.
They're pizza guys.
Yeah, Marvin Bagley's not a pizza guy. He wishes he was a pizza guy. So you mentioned, I wasn't going to talk about Calvin, but since you mentioned it, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Jordan Poole, Draymond Green. The Warriors win last night, basically with their bench playing. And after the game, Steve Kerr officially announces that Draymond will be joining the team tomorrow. He will be playing on Friday against the Denver Nuggets. He's being fined by the team. He didn't elaborate on what that fine will be, but there is absolutely zero suspension, and the team is moving forward. Was this the right move? Was this the wrong move? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think whether it was the right or wrong move, only time will tell, right? I feel disappointed in the Warriors organization personally. For me, from an outside perspective, as somebody who doesn't know any of the players or know the team or had any conversations, seen Draymond's alleged apology to Jordan Poole, all of that stuff, I have no way of knowing what the significance or how sincere any of that is. Steve Kerr was very adamant in the fact that he and Bob have great relationships with their players. They know their team extremely well, and they believe that this is the right way to handle it. I think at this point you have to take their word for it. Steve Kerr's a pretty honest guy. I think that he definitely cares a lot about his team and means what he says. But given what's happened to a lot of other franchises just in this one offseason, we've seen Ime Udoka get suspended for a full season. For having an improper relationship with a team staffer, that was self-imposed. The Celtics didn't have to do that necessarily, but they chose to because they felt like it was the right thing to do, and it set an example for the rest of their staff, the rest of their players. This is the way that we want you guys to behave yourselves, and if you don't do X, Y, and Z, there will be serious consequences. I think that the Warriors had an opportunity to do the same type of thing here, and they failed to do that. I'm not saying that Draymond should have been suspended for an entire season, but I think that allowing him to kind of handle his own rehab, if you want to call it that, let him, be in charge of his own mistakes, while yes, he has to take responsibility for them and make it right, the team still needs to set an example. That can't be done in practice. It just makes it feel like, they're more upset about the video being leaked than the actual punch happening. And I think if you're Jordan Poole, that would have to upset you pretty much or very much.
Yeah, I think it's a bunch of bullshit, honestly. It's like asking a child to punish themselves, right? Like, what is that really going to do? And not that Draymond's a child. I'm just trying to make an analogy. But Steve Kerr did mention that Jordan Poole was a part of this, right? He was a part of trying to figure out, what the right punishment would be. Obviously, Steve Kerr's probably the best guy to talk to Jordan Poole, right? Because he's like, dude, I got punched in the face by Michael Jordan during a practice. I let it go, and we ended up going 72-10 and won another championship that year. So, that's probably what he's saying to Jordan Poole here, right? Is that it's not just about you. This is about a team, and the only way that we're going to be able to move forward with a team is you forgive him. And kind of the same thing for Draymond, right? As you guys both move forward, because the ultimate goal here is to win another championship, to win number 5. So I agree with you, Calvin. I think this was a failure by management, a failure by the team, a failure by Draymond Green. But I get why they're doing it. It makes sense. And, if I were to say one team in the NBA that should have this much, leniency to do this, it would be the Golden State Warriors, right? So, it's tough. I think they made the wrong decision, but ultimately we'll see what happens, right? Because that's really what's going to say if this was the right or wrong decision, what happens in the next couple months and what happens this season. Jordan Poole is still eligible for the contract extension. He does have to sign it before the year starts. So I think he has to sign it by Tuesday. If he does not, then he becomes a restricted free agent, and then they end up in negotiations at the end of the year. Draymond Green's got a player option for next season at like $27 million. Plus you go to pay Wiggins. So all that combined together is probably like a whole nother thing that they don't even want to talk about at the moment. But hey, they're moving forward. And we will definitely see what happens with that situation. It's a really, really crazy one. It really is. All right, I just want to touch on the games that happened today because we had a ton of games, dude. 8 games. The Cleveland Cavaliers take on the Atlanta Hawks. They win 105-99, 24 points for Donovan Mitchell, 17 for DeJounte Murray. The Knicks, they lose to the Pacers, 27 points for your guy Ben Mather. And this is the guy you were pointing out to everybody at the draft. 27 points for him and 21 for RJ Barrett. Joel Embiid did his thing for the Sixers. They win 99-94. Hey, the Charlotte Hornets didn't give up 130 points in this game, Calvin. That's pretty big news there. Miami wins 120-103 over the Pelicans. We mentioned Zion Williamson does leave that game with some ankle soreness. And then the Brooklyn Nets win 107-97 over the Milwaukee Bucks. We got to see an interview from Chris Middleton. He said that he came out of the cast. He started some light one-on-one work, and he's expected to return hopefully in the next couple weeks. Also got to see Ben Simmons play in that game. Kyrie Irving was balling, 23 points for him. We got to see the Timberwolves take on the Lakers. Lakers lose again, 118-113. LeBron played in this game. So did Anthony Davis. And then the Kings win. And then the final game of the day, the Denver Nuggets take on the LA Clippers. They win 126-115. Calvin, let's talk about this Ben Simmons situation with the Nets. You know, they win tonight over the Milwaukee Bucks. This is not a fully healthy Milwaukee Bucks team. However, Brooklyn wins. Ben Simmons basically had a triple-double in this game. Did not shoot well, which you could expect. But, you know, what are your thoughts on Ben Simmons? What does he bring to this Brooklyn Nets team? Because the more and more I see them, you know, take out the whatever mental stuff he's dealing with. Honestly, Ben Simmons fits this team much better than James Harden does, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's very early to make a statement like that. But in theory, or you know, what you can envision with how they're going to use Ben Simmons, it does definitely free up Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to be the free-flowing, you know, main features of the offense, right? The big-time scorers. They don't have to worry necessarily about, does James have the ball in his hand enough? Where should we use him? You know, Ben Simmons can definitely play with the ball in his hand too, but he allows this team, I think, to play fully free and with the shackles taken off. He's a fantastic defender that's extremely versatile. They're going to move him around in a lot of different positions on defense, have him guard a lot of different players, which again benefits specifically Kevin Durant because he doesn't necessarily have to match up against, you know, the team's number one option, the opposing team's number one option, or the team's number one forward. You can have Ben Simmons take that responsibility on, which is going to allow Kevin Durant to be, you know, have a little more energy to expend late in games offensively. Exactly what you want from a guy that's a great scorer, but again, is getting a little bit older, right? I also think this team should play really, really fast. Ben Simmons is great in transition, both as a passer with the ball in his hand and as a guy that can, you know, be leaking out on the break. There's still other great passers on the team that can find him down court. He's a very difficult matchup problem if he's playing center. You know, a lot of teams opposing centers aren't going to be able to stick with him in a transition fast break opportunity. So Ben Simmons brings defense, versatility, and, you know, he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife for a team that's already built, you know, to win. He just gives them kind of a little bit of a secret weapon, so to speak, you know, based on the opponent and the matchup that night.
Lakers, a team of broken down senior citizens. You got that right. And they got a couple senior citizens in Carmelo and Dwight Howard that haven't even been signed yet, and they've both been screaming, "Nobody wants me. Nobody wants me." But yeah, back to the Nets. What do you think like a reasonable ceiling is for this team? Because, you know, I'm not going to lie. My bracket last year got totally busted, right? I had the Nets, you know, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they lost. They got swept in the first round. I love the defensive versatility that Ben Simmons brings to this team. I love the size that he brings to this team. You mentioned the playmaking ability. But, you know, what do you envision the ceiling being on this Brooklyn Nets team? Is this like a championship caliber team? Because if they stay healthy, you know, this is one of the best teams in the NBA on paper.
The ceiling is absolutely championship level. Look, you're talking about a team, even if Ben Simmons wasn't on this team, any team that has Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant for an entire season, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Durant played something like 40 to 50 games last year, I want to say. Kyrie was like 25 games, somewhere around that number. You know, if those two guys are going to be available for 70-plus games in a season, you're going to have a really, really good team, obviously. Now, the playoffs are a different story. You have to come ready to play. But last year was an anomaly to me for a lot of different reasons with this team, and they almost blew the whole thing up. Now they found a way to put it all back together. You add Ben Simmons into this mix, With Joe Harris coming back, Seth Curry is on this team. They have a lot of good pieces. They're great shooters. They've got really good defenders. They have two of the 5 to 8 best players in the game, depending on where you rank those two guys in Durant and Irving. The ceiling is 100% championship level.
All right, let's shift gears here. I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Grizzlies. Minnesota Timberwolves. Dude, I was screwing this up all last year too, right? I kept calling them, what were we calling them? The Minnesota Grizzly Wolves? But
the Memphis-Sota Grizzly Wolves.
The Memphis-Sota Grizzly Wolves. It's really a tongue twister. Having a couple beers, man, and my tongue will just get all twisted up. But they win tonight over the LA Lakers. I'm going to say that again. They win tonight. The Lakers lose 118-113. They're now 4-0 here in the preseason. We got to see Karl-Anthony Towns play, not tonight, but in the last game after losing, 30 pounds due to the throat infection, having, being bedridden, stuff like that. He's talking about wanting to get a little bit stronger before he comes back. We haven't really seen the new tandem of Towns and Gobert, right? We've seen them play separately. They're both expected to play, I believe, on Friday. What do you think about pairing potentially the best offensive big man in the league in Karl-Anthony Towns with the best defensive big man in the league in Rudy Gobert? What are your thoughts on this Timberwolves team, and what do you think the ceiling and the floor could be for this squad with that pairing?
Wow. First of all, I love where Minnesota is headed. Obviously adding Rudy Gobert, there's going to be a lot of debate about whether that works with the two big men. I think it's going to work for them more than it won't. The question is, what do they do in a 7-game playoff series if they get matched up against one of these teams like the Warriors, who traditionally move towards smaller lineups and create a lot of matchup problems for big men. However, Karl-Anthony Towns is the guy that might actually, be the key to all of this, because Karl-Anthony Towns, from an offensive standpoint, is just about the biggest mismatch you can possibly put against an opposing team, especially if he's moving to the power forward position. He's going to spend the majority of his time out on the perimeter. You can try to counteract their size by going small, but that puts you at a huge disadvantage trying to guard this team with Karl-Anthony Towns out there on the perimeter and Anthony Edwards, and having to worry about a guy inside like Rudy Gobert, who's a tremendous offensive rebounder. So I think that Minnesota's positioned themselves pretty well. It's really difficult to tell what their true ceiling and floor is, because the Western Conference is going to be really competitive this year, and this is kind of an experiment that we don't really have any prior history or evidence to go off of. So I think this team could be anywhere as high as a top 4 seed, 4 or 5, something like that. They might end up sticking right where they were last year at the 7 seed too, though, just because the West is going to beat each other up. I expect the Clippers to be better than they were last year. Denver's going to be better than they were last year. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I think that Minnesota is doing the right types of things. And they're also developing a lot of their young guys too, which I think is something that's going overlooked here. Jaden McDaniels is a tremendous player. If he continues to take steps offensively, his versatility and length on defense is a huge weapon for them. And anybody who hasn't seen Naz Reid play lately, I was not a big fan of this guy when he first came into the league. I thought he was very one-dimensional, was never really going to have a major role on any team. He's really improved his game offensively, a much better outside shooter. He led them in scoring tonight. So that's another huge body that they have available for them, who can really put a lot of pressure on opposing defenses. So I think this team is on the right track and in the right direction.
Yeah, great point there. Great point. Okay. Well, let's move on here. I want to give you guys all something that's really fun, something we're starting. This is going to be the first week on this show, but this is called the Drunk Take of the Week. So here we go. We'll give you our Drunk Take of the Week. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah?
Barry, what are you doing?
You kidding me? She's hot as hell. Looking for a little slap and pickle.
You sure you want to do this, man? You're drunk.
I'm drunk. You're drunk. Everybody's drunk. Sacramento Kings are making the playoffs. I guarantee it.
There you go. That's your drunk take of the week. King Stradamus says the Sacramento Kings are making the playoffs this year, Calvin, and he's guaranteeing it. What are your thoughts on this?
Man, well, if he's right, he didn't have the time right. He was a little early when he made that prediction. But I guess when you've had that many beers, maybe you time travel a little bit, and you get the date off by a year or two.
Oh, man, I thought that was a great one. We'll definitely check in on that at the end of the season. I don't know if he time traveled, Calvin. I mean, maybe King Stradamus filmed that yesterday. Matthew can definitely see his green screen, so we got to give him a little bit of heads up next time. But King Stradamus, he sees all, dude. Maybe he doesn't live in one time. Maybe he's all seeing, all moving, all over the place.
That's true. His hair's pretty short. I did notice that, so perhaps he did time travel.
I hope he's talking about this season, because I agree with that as well. Calvin, I got a little trivia question for you here. Are you ready for some trivia? And, you guys
Always
can
ready for
follow
trivia,
along.
especially if it's sports trivia.
You guys can follow along here in the chat. So if you guys think you know the correct answer, let me know. Obviously, no cheating here. That would be a big no-no. But Calvin, who was the first player to be drafted number 1 without playing college or high school basketball in the United States?
Wow, or high school basketball.
Should be an easy
man,
one.
that's tough. Should be an easy one. Well, number 1. Oh, no, he did play in college in the U.S. Well, you said it's easy, so I will definitely feel stupid. But I was gonna say Hakeem, but he actually played at Houston and then got drafted by Houston. So
Kobe played high school in Philadelphia.
that's true.
He's a big guy. He's a center. Also played in Houston.
Also played in Houston. Oh, Yao Ming.
Yao Ming. He's your guy. He's your guy. 15.8% of people get that correctly. So you're in the majority there, Calvin.
Well, you made it a little easy on me, but I appreciate the hint.
Do you know which team won the first NBA championship?
The first NBA, not NBA title. We're talking about after the merger.
NBA championship, 1946 and 47. I'll
Okay,
give
so
you a
this
hint.
was before the merger.
They are not in the city they currently are in, and they've won a championship in the past 10 seasons.
In the past 10 seasons.
Maybe more than one.
The past 10 seasons.
It is.
I don't know.
The Philadelphia Warriors. That was a trick question, dude. I was trying to help you out a little bit there, saying maybe they
Bombers. I love that.
Maybe they won
guess.
more than one in the past. But hey, I want to do some more trivia on this channel, so I'm going to figure out a way that we can put it up on the screen here. We can have people fill out some bingo cards, or they can drop it in the chat. And I want to do trivia night on Wednesdays here on the channel, some sports trivia. So let's definitely find a way to integrate it in here to Wednesday night parties. But next up on the schedule, Calvin, I want to talk about overrated and underrated teams. Do you have any teams that you are just looking at this year that you're like, okay, this team is way overrated and this team is underrated? I'm going to pull up the power rankings here from ESPN. I think that'll help everybody out a little bit.
Yeah, this is a little tough for me, at least from the overrated standpoint, right? Because I think that this year there's either contenders, teams you expect to be in the middle of the pack, or bottom dwellers. Like there is no in between here for me this season. So I'm gonna go with a team that probably a lot of people will question overrated, but I'm gonna go with the LA Lakers as my most overrated team, just because I don't think there are a lot of people picking this team to win the title. But I think that they've definitely messed up their roster. And to me, at this point, they're more in trouble of missing the play-in tournament than winning a title. And that is, when you talk about the Lakers, it's always championship or bust, right? They're definitely going to be my overrated team.
Okay. Matthew wants to know why you have Kleenex in your ears.
I don't have Kleenex in my ears. I wouldn't be able to hear you if I didn't have these in my ears. They're headphones. So
Kleenex makes a great pair of wireless headphones, Matthew. Just a heads up.
I should have led with I like to have clean ears, but
yeah, sorry, I was not able to pull up an ESPN or an NBA.com power rankings. You pull it up, it's 5 pages long, and they like to spread it out, and they like to write an article about every single one. So this is kind of the quickest list I could find. This is numberfire.com. Never heard of them before, but they obviously have the Boston Celtics ranked number 1, Milwaukee number 2, Golden State 3, whatever you want to take these in. But as far as like underrated teams, if I'm going by this list, I'm looking at Philadelphia, right? They're number 8 on this list. They brought in James Harden. I like the additions of Daniel House and PJ Tucker. I think that they really have a high ceiling here. If, Brooklyn deals with some more drama, if Milwaukee deals with, some injury woes, this is going to be the best team in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. But I'm also high on Brooklyn. I'm high on Miami. But just according to this list, I think that Philadelphia is way too low. As far as an overrated team, some people might not like this, but I'm going with the Phoenix Suns. I think the Phoenix Suns are not a championship caliber team at this point. I think they missed their window. I've been saying this every year, and it hurts me to say this actually, because I've been a huge Chris Paul fan, but Chris Paul's over the hill, man. And every single year it just adds on. He seems to have an injury every year, which makes you age even faster. They're dealing with the ownership drama, the drama surrounding the center position. I don't think this team is going to be even close to making the Western Conference Finals. And this is a team that had the best record in the NBA last year.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I mean,
and they lost the Kings tonight.
Phoenix was a very close second to me for going with overrated, but their roster's still incredibly talented. If they were to end up in the top 4 teams in the West, that wouldn't shock me. The Lakers finishing in the top 4 teams in the West would absolutely shock me. And I thought we were just starting with overrated teams, so I'll give you my underrated team, and that's the New Orleans Pelicans. I really think that this team is going to not surprise everyone, but they're going to surprise people this season. If I had a drunk take of the week for me personally this week, it would be that Zion is in the running for MVP this year and that the Pelicans are a top 4 team in the Western Conference. I really, really love what they've done with this team. They were really great to watch last year. CJ McCollum, the addition of him was perfect for this roster. Again, we talked earlier about teams developing young talent. The Pelicans are doing a fantastic job of that. I love Valanciunas in the middle, and I think you add Zion Williamson to that roster that they had last year, and this team is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, really good point. Really, really good point. Don't forget about my guy, Jose GTA, because we know he's going to be absolutely killing it this year as well. All right, Calvin. We're winding down the show here, right? We're going to be adding each week. We're going to make the show more and more fun. Wednesday Night Parties is going to be a destination that you guys can come to, have some beers, talk about sports. We're going to make it interactive. You're going to be able to call in. I'm trying to figure out the whole Twitter Spaces situation so we can have other people talking here on the channel and having a good time. But Calvin, you want to kind of talk about what our plans are for the next week for everybody? Because I know I'm leaving a little bit earlier than you, right? I'm leaving Friday night, red eye, after the Kings game, after the podcast. Hopefully you can take me to the airport. I didn't ask you yet, but hopefully you can. But, I'm going to be doing a couple days in LA. I'm going to the Rams-Panthers game on Sunday. I'm going to hang out in Hollywood, try and, spray paint my name on a star on the sidewalk or something like that. Then Wednesday, I'm heading up to Sacramento to meet up with you. What are we doing this week or next week?
Well, it all starts with October 19th, Wednesday. Our first day my first day, in California. Yeah, our first day in Sacramento. We'll be at the season opener at Golden One Center, Kings Blazers. As I mentioned, if anybody was watching us on Royal Rebounds, we're sitting in section 108, so come say what up to us if you're at the game. And then
I swear we always end up in 108, dude.
I know, right? Yeah, it's funny how it works out like that. We're going to be hanging out with some old friends, and then my birthday is on Friday. I don't know exactly where we'll be or what we're doing, but we'll probably be hanging out in Davis. I will be 34 years old.
Wow.
34 years young.
You're old, man.
Hey, aren't you 34?
Nope.
You turned 34 before I did, I think.
I don't think so.
But anyways, my birthday is on the 21st. It's a Friday, so we'll be hanging out doing, whatever we want to do on that day. And then on Sunday, that's a big day for us. We're going to San Francisco. We will be at the Niners and Chiefs game, and we may even make an appearance at the Warriors-Kings game at the Chase Center that evening, traffic depending.
Yeah, Trait's right. I am 22. Calvin's 34. He is, a little bit older. You know what they say, respect your elders. So I try and do that as much as I can. But yeah, you're right. We're going to try our best to make it to that game as well. It should be a lot of fun. Calvin, I say we end the show here with kind of a preview on Friday's game. The Kings are taking on the Lakers again. This time it is in Sacramento. Unfortunately, we won't make it to this game. I wish we could. But the Kings already beat them once. They're looking at 4-0 here. Troy Brown Jr. is listed as day-to-day. Keegan Murray and Rashawn are still listed as day-to-day. I expect both of those guys to play on Friday. This is the last chance for the Sacramento Kings to kind of, tweak the roster, make some adjustments before the first game. What are you looking for on Friday night, Kings-Lakers?
Well, I'm looking for Mike Brown to unleash the bench. I don't want to see very many big-name guys or starter guys or guys who are in critical roles play a lot of minutes in this game. I think that most of the main players on this team have proven themselves. Even whether or not Keegan Murray is going to be a starter day one, I don't want to see him playing a ton of minutes here. I think the Kings this is all about, trimming down the roster. It's the final audition for all of these guys trying to make the team. Who's going to make those final few roster spots. They have some questions deep in the point guard rotation. Dellavedova, Quinn Cook, these guys. This is their opportunity here. So that's really, to me, what this game is about. I don't expect to see much of LeBron or Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has played pretty well in the preseason, but
Mr.
the
Glass.
Lakers, to me, have more questions about their rotation at guard than at the forward position. So this is going to be a battle of the bench, I believe.
Cal, can you check the Twitter real quick?
Yes, I can.
We got people changing their name back to Ben Simmons and tweeting also at the same time. Hey, I'll check my Twitter if you spell my name right. It has an A in it. I'm not a fruit. And also, change your name, man. But we need to come up with a new interesting name, dude. Like, I'm thinking Royal Rebounds Ambassador. I saw you during the entire game telling people, like this video, subscribe this video. That's great, man. But I think it's got to be reflected in the name. Change the name. Royal Rebounds Ambassador. Kings are making the playoffs. A lot of different options there, man. I think you got to get Ben Simmons out of your mind. Ben Simmons is overrated at this point.
Well, I believe Mr. Trait wants you to answer this back in the tweet, so I'm not sure if he wants me to read it aloud.
Oh, shit. All right, hold on 1 second, dude. I'm going to have to look this up, aren't I? Okay. Is this Royal Rebounds or Basketball at the Bar, Cal?
This is Royal Rebounds.
I'm not even going to be able to see it here, am I? All right, read it to me.
All right.
Is it show appropriate?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Okay, read it out loud.
Are you putting it on the screen?
No, I can't, dude. Because you remember how I was trying to get the Twitter login from you the other day? and we couldn't figure it out.
He says go ahead. So the tweet says, Barry, I was wondering, can I be a mod? By the way, this is Antonio, aka Trait Fox.
Ooh, okay. Antonio who? Would be my question. And I guess you can be a mod. That'd be okay. But you got to change the name. Maybe Royal Rebounds Ambassador. Maybe what about Basketball at the Bar Bouncer?
Basketball at the Bar, but we do need a bouncer. I like that idea.
Yeah, I like that. What about the Bouncer? Change your name to the Bouncer. I think that would be the one, because you could be on both channels and you could just be booting people if they're out of control, right? Everybody needs a bouncer. You could be checking people's IDs at the door and booting them if they don't have IDs, or if they're just acting crazy. If they're not Kings fans, get them the hell out of here. I think that's a good name, dude. I think we should change it over. Change your name to Barry the Bouncer. And Calvin,
The
I
bouncer,
think we should.
there he is. Okay.
Oh man, I was gonna say we should end the show before he changes it, but I like it, dude. In all capitals. This is great, dude. This is awesome, dude. I am so excited for Friday's show. I hope you guys are too. Hey, just a heads up. I've been doing a little morning show on this channel. A lot of you guys haven't been tuning in, so if you're interested in all the NBA games, tune in the morning. I know it's kind of at a weird time. It's like 10 a.m. Hawaii time, which is 1 p.m. your time. So tune in if you can, if you're available. If not, then maybe I'll do something different. I don't know. We're still experimenting with this channel, trying to figure it out. We're definitely going to be sticking with Wednesday night parties because this is a lot of fun. And Calvin, I'm going through these Lagunitas Island beats pretty fast here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Don't talk smack to the bouncer on your way out because he will kick you out. That's for sure. Calvin, any last words before we end the show here?
Thanks, everybody, for watching, for coming over with us from Royal Rebounds. This was a lot of fun tonight. Hopefully there's more fun to be had in the future. And, go Kings.
Hey, if you can catch a wrench, you can catch a ball. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you all on Friday. Go Kings.